This is why police dogs need to be banned. Those of us involved in anti-dog activism are used to hearing that dogs save lives in response to the litany of issues caused by dogs in extant society. But in reality, dogs are not out there saving lives, people are. Whether they occasionally use dogs as tools toward this end or not, it's always people, not dogs, who are actually doing the work. People like doctors and surgeons, first responders, paramedics, firefighters, police officers, detectives, bodyguards, forensic scientists, and volunteers, among others. And even when considering that police themselves do use dogs in some departments, police dogs are not even a good example of a useful or beneficial type of working dog. There are so many reasons to oppose the use of police dogs that it is difficult to know just where to begin. Examples of police dogs needlessly injuring civilians, often civilians who are not even suspected of crimes, are not uncommon at all. Not only are police dogs an additional weapon being introduced into the situation, they are an unpredictable one at that. An officer cannot predict and control an animal's behavior regardless of prior training and commands given. This introduces an unstable element to the situation, and officers themselves should be wary of using such a tool. In fact, there have been many documented cases of police dogs attacking officers themselves, including their own handlers, not to mention innocent bystanders.
The whole video of that attack. The reason? The canine was given no order to apprehend the teen and then ignored more than 20 commands from his handler to stop biting.
Passengers bail out of a stolen car and run from police.
Come here right now.
A 17-year-old stops running and then follows all of the officer's orders. The canine handler is just out of frame with his gun drawn as the teen sits down behind a bush and puts his hands up and down and up again.
To the ground. Stop. Like, off.
$175,000 of Colorado Springs taxpayer money will be paid to a man attacked by a police canine. And today, 13 Investigates has video of that attack.
We do want to warn you that the audio and video in the story may be disturbing to some. Investigative reporter Quinn Ritzdorf is live near the Citadel Mall, where the canine attack happened and that taxpayers are footing the bill for. Quinn.
In June 2021, Colorado Springs police responded to this jewelry store behind me for an apparent break-in. When they arrived, the suspect took off running. At the same time, Jason Shelton, a completely innocent bystander, was riding his bike right here along Galley Road. He even saw the suspect run away. He thought nothing of it and kept riding his bike when all of a sudden a police canine started biting his arm.
Oh my God! Get the dog!
For nearly a minute, this Colorado Springs police canine bit and tugged on Jason Shelton's arm. The dog eventually dragged Shelton off his bike and into the street the night of June 2021.
Please get the dog! Please get the dog!
For 53 seconds, Shelton is screaming out in pain, asking the officers to get the dog to stop. During the intense attack on Galley Road, a driver in a car runs over Shelton's leg.
Right. Oh!
A federal lawsuit filed by Shelton alleges that Alan Radke, a canine handler for Colorado Springs Police, chased Shelton, even though another officer told him Shelton wasn't the suspect. The lawsuit also claims Radke didn't identify as a police officer and didn't warn he was going to release his canine. Shelton's attorneys also noted that Radke appeared to joke about the dog attack on scene that night.
See, this is why you stay in the military, so when you have a backup job.
Today, Colorado Springs City Council voted to pay $175,000 to avoid going to court for Shelton's lawsuit. But Shelton's case is not the first lawsuit the city's settled within the last year for a canine attack.
Police dogs do not only create unsafe situations physically, but they can be used to circumvent probable cause laws, thus violating civil rights. They can be trained to respond to certain cues given by handlers, making it appear that they are indicating detection of contraband, although they are actually responding to a cue. This gives officers the green light to conduct a search that would otherwise have been unlawful. There is another question pertaining to the cost effectiveness of police canines. While there is no set cost, figures range anywhere from $12,000 to $45,000 for initial training costs. In addition to this, maintenance costs such as boarding, feed, and veterinary care must be accounted for the remainder of the dog's life. Tending to the wounds of their victims is another often overlooked expense. When someone is apprehended using a canine and receives injuries in the process, the county or whichever entity is jailing them must provide medical care. On that topic, injuries can be rather severe, up to and including severe lacerations, puncture wounds from bites, muscle tears, nerve damage, facial injuries, scalp tears, vocal cord damage, bone fractures, and in extreme cases, even death from blood loss due to severity of the bite wounds, all of which can lead to permanent scarring and psychological trauma for the victim. There is also the potential for infection, which on its own can cause a dire medical situation. All of these expenses and complications could be avoided by using more reliable and sophisticated technology. There are tools that can do some of these jobs more efficiently, such as drones for tracking fleeing subjects without injuring them or others, just to name one example. The following Reddit thread has a lot of good arguments against their existence.
So, I'm an assistant at an animal hospital. Most of my responsibilities involve caring for animals before and after procedures, as well as caring for any animals staying overnight. As someone who isn't too fond of dogs, this is a questionable job for me. But I digress. So naturally, I have to interact with and care for many different kinds of dogs on a daily basis, and it has only made me loathe dogs more. However, there is a specific kind of dog that I regard as the most dangerous to people and society in general, and that is the police dog. Say what you want about specific breeds being more dangerous than others, but in my experience, nothing can compare to the aggression of a police dog. I've dealt with very easygoing Chihuahuas, Pit Bulls, and Rottweilers. I have also dealt with very difficult and aggressive dogs with breeds not associated with inherent aggression, so as far as I'm concerned, breed has little to do with inherent aggression. But police dogs are different. Every time a canine unit dog comes in, they are always highly reactive and aggressive to the point of real, life-threatening danger. It is because they are trained to be this way. They are trained to have an extremely damaging bite force and are trained to act aggressively towards anyone their handler turns them loose on. They are taught to follow whatever orders their handlers give and will not listen to anyone else. We commonly have to sedate them for simple procedures that usually wouldn't require such, like taking x-rays and trimming their nails, because their level of aggression is an active danger to the staff. I have handled dogs labeled as aggressive or highly reactive. The main difference is that canine dogs are trained to act that way. They are actively programmed to be aggressive and an active threat to those around them. And all this is made all the worse by the fact that cops can send them on whoever they want and can signal them to make false drug alerts as an excuse to perform unnecessary and invasive searches. I have learned to tolerate dogs, but I will never be able to justify the existence of police dogs.
Due to several local investigative reports throughout the country, some attention has been brought to the issue of police dogs. The main one being, what are police dogs really for, and are they worth it? They give off so many false positives, so they're pretty much useless when dealing with narcotics and sniffing them out. Just another unnecessary component to the obvious failed war on drugs. I always thought it was ridiculous that an animal can be used to determine whether or not your civil rights can be violated. So a dog is allowed to determine whether my property can be searched, and possibly in the process have my freedom taken? Also, it's completely arbitrary because the handlers themselves can instruct the dog to say yes to any type of accusation. Ridiculous. Then there's the issue of aggression. Is it really necessary to inflict life-altering wounds to apprehend and arrest a suspect that's fleeing? Sometimes suspects aren't fleeing at all, but still have police dogs released on them. The huge liability, lawsuits, and civil judgments are saying no. Obviously, the police departments don't care because when these judgments happen, the money comes from taxpayers' pockets. There's also been cases of police dogs attacking the wrong person, including the handlers themselves. Looks like the tides are slowly turning. United States versus Place, 1983. The court determined that the sniffing of a person's personal items in a public place for the purpose of finding illegal narcotics was not considered a search under the Fourth Amendment. Further, the sniff of a dog is sui generis and is considered uniquely pervasive. City of Indianapolis vs. Edmond, 2000. The court determined that it is unconstitutional to set up a highway checkpoint for the primary purpose of illegal narcotic discovery. In the case, the Indianapolis Police Department was using police dogs to detect narcotics at the checkpoint without reasonable suspicion. Illinois versus Cabals, 2005. The court determined that police do not need probable cause to bring a drug detection dog to a vehicle during a legal traffic stop. Further, a search by a police dog does not count as an invasion of privacy because a well-trained one will only alert to the presence of illegal substances. Florida vs. Harris, 2013. The court affirmed that a police dog's alert to the exterior of a vehicle gives the officer probable cause to search the vehicle without a warrant. Further, the court affirmed that the state does not have to prove each dog's reliability in order for evidence gathered from them to be valid in court. Florida versus Jardines, Indy 2013. The court determined that evidence collected from a police dog at the front door of a house cannot be used in court. The front porch of a house is considered a private place, and the police need probable cause and a search warrant to bring a police dog to the front door. Rodriguez vs. United States, 2015. The court determined that, without reasonable suspicion, the use of a police dog after the conclusion of a legal traffic stop violates the Fourth Amendment. In the last case, police officers are no longer allowed to extend the length of a traffic stop to allow a dog to sniff your vehicle. Prior to that, the police could pretty much use the dogs however they wanted. That's a little progress, but obviously not enough. Hopefully, police dogs and their use by law enforcement agencies will be something that's eradicated in our lifetimes.
In conclusion, and my opinion, the use of canines to assist the force is nothing short of police brutality. It is domestic terrorism by all definition, a form of intimidation to rule a population by fear, and a complete contrast of to serve and protect.